CK Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Well, welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 10. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Loppon, in for our meteorologist Gabe Maynard tonight. A little bit under the weather, so say a little prayer for Gabe so that he gets feeling better here pretty soon. We have a full show nonetheless, regardless of it not being gabbing with Gabe at 10 p.m. here. We're going to be looking at some fog for many of us overnight. How much of that is drizzle as well? Where is that most likely? We're looking at that here in just a moment. Warm weather is the dominant feature going forward, as most days, and that's a kind way to put it, most days are warm. Arguably, we almost get close to the 80-degree point, so you can make an argument for hot as a descriptive word there. Rain will return later this week. We're tracking using our exclusive Storm Finder, a look at where those thunderstorm chances are the most likely and where they should be the heaviest. But over the course of the next 12 hours, going from the upper 40s at 11 back to 48 by 2 o'clock in the morning. You notice it's not much of a drop from where temperatures are right now out and about, because that cloud cover keeps us locked in and really keeps us from dropping a ton more from exactly where we are at this point in time here. As we look out at our satellite perspective, you can see how that cloud cover eroded away during the day, and then tonight it started lifting back northward, spreading farther north and eastward. And so we expect over the course of the next few hours here, as that continues to kind of spread northward, you can even see it kind of there in a little more detail right there, all the way up through parts of Webster, Chickasaw County, out there toward spots closer to the Grenada area as well. It's interesting that, you know, that's particular version of our Mama Justice satellite perspective there. Doppler radar shows it best. And we'll see if I can get on the color infrared. Yeah, it just doesn't show it because it's not in fog finder mode. But it's one of those cool things that we're able to kind of depict that for you there. On the kind of the wider shot on this here, you can see some active weather with some clouds back out there toward the Pacific Northwest in particular. A couple different storm systems out that direction. Most of these are going to go straight east and take the majority of really storm chances of significance and keep them mainly north of us as we go throughout this work week here. But I think for us, again, it's that cloud cover that lingers. Again, we show that very well on our Futurecast here, 10 p.m. Again, where pretty much where we had at Grenada County back through Choctaw County and Talbot County as well. So maybe a little thicker, actually, than what Futurecast is indicating here. Either way, we have some high clouds that move overhead. We have that low cloud cover as well. I think the combination of those two things keep us locked right where we're at temperature-wise going into and through the overnight period. You can see 6 o'clock tomorrow. Again, widespread cloud cover. A little bit of green showing down there toward Louisiana. That's some moisture trying to come northward. But again, outside of maybe just a little bit of drizzle, we're not expecting much. But notice, even through noontime, we are locked in the clouds. I think that's the only reason we're not a little hotter for tomorrow. Temperatures, for the most part, again, going to run still well above our normal for this time of year, even into the afternoon. Tomorrow's highs head into the 70s, but we'll be 56 by 9 a.m., 67 by noon, 70 degrees by 3 p.m. And again, a lot of cloud cover around. So whether it's the low clouds initially in the morning or kind of more the mid-level clouds after that, in either case, if you see sunshine, you can add a couple degrees to that 70-degree point. But I think a lot of us stayed locked in the clouds, and so that probably is not the case. You know, it was a beautiful evening here across North Mississippi, and I do want to bring in our Ethan Foster there. Ethan, in the Hamilton area, but of course, you were in Amory a little earlier on this evening. I know, first ball game for Amory in their new baseball stadium. What was the atmosphere like?
Yeah, Matt, like you said, first game in the brand new stadium, and something that really just kind of made me think, wow, was as I was enjoying some food from the concession stand right before the varsity game started at 7 tonight, they actually had kind of a minute before the game where they honored a handful of different people, but they also mentioned that it had been over 1,000 days since they played their last home game in Amory, over 1,061 days.
Let's give Rivers a
just take a look at this right here. This highlight's put together a little bit different tonight. Really wanted to just show off the ballpark, but look at how nice that field looks. That turf Just so nice. You don't see much of that around here, but it's so cool to have that in the backyard here. But the vibes were high out there in Amory tonight. And actually, if you want to know who won this game, you're going to look at the atmosphere game highlights. I'll go ahead and tell you that the Hamilton Lions and Amory Panthers squared off. Pretty close matchup early, but at the end of it all, we actually had Hamilton coming out on top. They won this ball game 6-1 at the end of it all. Actually, the majority of those runs, that 3-1 ball game, about the time that I left earlier tonight, I left about, let's say, 8:30, and then I just heard from one of my good friends who's in the NFL. He actually plays for the Lions, and he updated me on that score minutes ago. So, congratulations to the Lions tonight. But Matt, aside from the final score of the game, this right here was actually right as they were announcing the starting lineups, and you can see this crowd was packed. And that was the case for Hamilton as well. They had a nice little away crowd. Of course, it's just about a 30-minute drive to get to Amory from there. But, Matt, you asked what it was like out there. It was just a little bit chilly, hovering around 50 degrees by the time that I left. But aside from just being a little bit cool, it seemed like everybody was having fun. Of course, they were arguing balls and strikes, just like you would expect people to be doing. Everybody in midseason form to start the season off.
Well, that's, I guess that tells you that everybody's settling in the normalcy, right?
Yeah, and you talk about normalcy. Monroe County in general, I mentioned this at 6 o'clock, whether you talk about Smithville, whether you talk about Hamilton, Hatley, Amory, as recently as just a couple of years ago, normalcy can shift depending on the time of year. And I don't think there's been a more resilient group of people than the group of people we have right here in this state when it comes to rebounding, to take it to basketball. But, even with the ice storm, Matt, you see a lot of people who have had to hunker down. Some people still feeling the effects of that over 3.5, 4 weeks later. And again, I know sports, it's easy to get romantic about baseball, like they want to say, but it is something that's neat because you have things like this that can really shake people up, but then that can all come back together. They can enjoy a ball game. America's game, as they'll call it, was baseball, but it is fun because people rally around it, and it's just a good way to get back to normal for these folks. And again, over 1,000 days since you've seen a baseball team play at home in Amory. And real quick, I will say there's a little plaque at Amory that actually honors the 2023, 2024, and 2025 teams. And it makes the point that some of those teams didn't get to play a single game at home. So you have potentially 3 senior classes that may not have even played a single game at home. So I got chills just thinking about that, but that just kind of goes to show you the impacts that it had. But just so good to see it back and really better than ever. Maybe not a single person that has ever played at Amory has ever got to play on a field as nice as that. So definitely years and years of good baseball.
That they have got that at this point here, and it's great to see what they'll have going forward. Ethan, I appreciate that so much, and thank you so much for joining us again here this evening. So again, come up here in 60 seconds. What we're going to be looking ahead toward. Again, some rain and storm chances later this week. Nothing obviously like what Ethan and I were talking about there. But we did last weekend have, I think, confirmed now 12 tornado touchdowns here from Saturday night into early Sunday morning in the southern part of the state. That's obviously significant. A number of those EF1 tornado touchdowns. And you have sent us quite a few pictures in the last 24 hours about something a lot nicer, the sunset in particular. We'll look at some of your pictures here as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
I'm your retirement fear. But don't be scared. You're still in pre-tirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. This is pretirement.org.
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
Well, it is now, 10:12 p.m. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Room to Room Weather Center. I'd love to get a couple of good shots here if we could, and it's just going to depend on whether or not I get some cars going along the roadway there of some of the fog we have down there forming in the Macon area. You can see just a little bit of the haziness there. I had one good shot there. Well, here we go. Well, that doesn't look as rough as it did a minute ago there. I will see if, from time to time you can see some of it. But again, that shows you that it is patchy, and sometimes when the cars move through, that works to clean it out. Not a lot of issues showing up for many spots. I'm going to check back out here over there. For just the last second, you can barely kind of see how it's just kind of hanging there right at ground level. Just mainly low clouds, but good visibility right now in Winona at this instant. Go out to Greenwood, see if that camera is up and going for us this evening. It looks like it is. And you can see kind of the lower to mid-level cloud cover is 54 degrees current temperature in the Greenwood area there. One of those spots where that cloud cover could thicken up. And even if we don't go to full-on fog here, we expect that certainly the clouds thick enough that it's going to maintain temperatures and keep them from dropping a whole lot more from where they're at. 48 right now in Pontotoc as we look out there toward the city of Pontotoc at this moment. Warm weather is the story, and one of the other stories that we're contending with here. As you can see, temperatures, low 70s today, probably pretty similar for Tuesday. The only reason we're not warmer than that is because of how much cloud cover we'll have. We're 72 Wednesday, 79 degrees for Thursday, before temperatures slope down considerably more as we look toward this upcoming weekend with a more meaningful front than the last one that came through. Rain chances, though, up 40%, so maybe not quite as heavy as the last time around, as we'll have really some sporadic storms developing along a front as it moves through and slides southward. I think most significant severe weather threat actually north of our area. Fingers crossed that's the way it stays. We'll look more toward that weekend forecast here in just a moment. But Storm Fighter, one good way in which we could do that, showing up again dry for the next 24 hours here. Let's zoom it out. Let's talk about how this thing works. And again, Storm Finder looks at, well, obviously the rainfall that you can see there using our strike model in particular, looking at thunderstorms and in particular lightning and the way that works. See, not much really between now and say Thursday. We do have some thunderstorms back out there toward locations in the desert southwest. And obviously this big batch out here up stretching from Cleveland, Ohio, back up there toward Green Bay. But even then looking at that, I don't show a whole lot of lightning with that. So I think that earlier in the day activity is the stuff that should probably be strong to severe, depending on how that plays out there. And then we do see the potential for developing a few isolated showers and storms here late Thursday night into early Friday morning. The purples start increasing in their brightness as we head into your Friday. Certainly chances greatest to the south of us. You can see Friday PM looking at the latest here. So again, rather underwhelming in a lot of ways looking at our storm finder for this week. No shock there. It would take more instability, I'd say, into this upcoming weekend, and hopefully that's something that we can manage, but remains a bit of a possibility there. So in advance of that, the main story is actually this, some great weather pictures. And I appreciate you all for sending these in this evening using the Mississippi Live Weather app. This picture here coming from Vicky, a beautiful sunset this evening. Lots of great colors on this one showing up. I might have to zoom this out a little bit more because that was really zoomed in there. Again, looking at those high, thin cirrus clouds in particular, I appreciate Vicky for sharing that. Another great shot here, sent in sunset from Pontotoc. Paula Little with this shot here of the sunset this evening through the trees. Hoping that one there, I'm not damaged from the ice storm. Anytime I see one that's a little shadier looking on top there, or maybe less shady would be the way to describe it. Spindly, maybe the better word there. Hopefully that's not what that is, but I think just a lot of trees still contending with that. In the Pratt's community, appreciate Forrest for sending it this shot here of the sunset. Just love the wispy nature of these high, thin cirrus clouds, again, made up of ice crystals there, kind of sweeping across the sky. Appreciate so many of you for sharing your pictures with us. Those clouds will be thickening up, and that's one of those signs, again, we transition toward a more active pattern for that. I think later on this week, again, some of those rain chances coming back. So many pictures coming in this evening. Thank you so much for sharing yours with us. Our IMPC school day forecast has us 48 for drop-off temperature with 63 by lunch and 69 by the final bell on your Tuesday. So clouds, and in particular, low clouds and some fog, those continue to build in over the next few hours here on these southerly winds. Fairly widespread out here for 2:33, 4 o'clock in the morning, though this does try to show a little bit breaking up. What we can depict there, though, I can kind of outline here probably the edge of our most dense cloud cover and fog there. So at this point, I do not believe that we have, I'm going to double check here for a moment. I don't think they've issued any dense fog advisories yet on this here. I'm going to check our chat here with the National Weather Service unless something's changed on that. Does not look like it has. So one of those signs that if that ends up happening, of course, you will get alerts to that in the Mississippi Live Weather app. It has, of course, the alerts right there on the homepage. I'll let you know if something like that's issued. But hopefully, no real travel issues with that for tomorrow morning. But if we have any, Maggie will have updates on that starting at 6:30 a.m. So 48 there in Cleveland, 49 degrees in Greenwood and Belzona, 46 for Amory, Vernon, Alabama coming in 46, and 46 degrees back up for Senatobia and Oxford. As we head into your Tuesday, again, a little bit of green showing up on there. This probably doesn't add up to anything. It's more just a sign of that there's some moisture coming up from the Gulf showing up there, and it's more just kind of where the clouds are the thickest. A lot of times we get that out of our HRRR model, and we don't usually get much meaningful rainfall out of any of this green when we just have this widespread clouds like what we'll have tomorrow. So that more speaks to the density, the thickness of the clouds, which remain pretty thick. 70 in Tupelo and Amory for those highs tomorrow, 71 Bruce, 73 degrees in Eupora. It'll be 68 in Greenwood, 68 degrees in Belzona, and 66 there in Greenville. While we're rolling through this, let's go ahead and bring up our chat here behind the scenes so we can kind of talk to y'all. Appreciate you, Glenda, and G. Price, and Gabriel, and everybody for kind of joining us here. So glad to have you online with us again this evening here as we work our way through our forecast and hopefully answer some of your questions if you so desire here later on during the broadcast before we kind of wrap things up. But again, cloud cover and our next front is the story here. We're looking for Wednesday in the pre-dawn hours, that moving toward us, but still dry, still ahead of that. And temperature is fairly mild with a widespread cloud cover out here. About 57 in Greenwood, 56 degrees in Grenada, Eupora, 57 for Louisville, Starkville, and 56 in Columbus. Again, normal this time of year should be in the 30s, mid-30s, so way above that. Almost 20 degrees above our normal low temperature and above our high temperature where we typically should be for Wednesday morning. So widespread clouds. And again, the first of a couple of fast moving fronts, or the first front of a couple fronts this week. This one fast moving, the one after it a lot slower. But as this kind of swiftly goes through, only a few isolated showers developing fairly close to that front. And again, we don't have anything that's terribly impressive here on that, just the widespread cloud cover and those winds out of the south. More on that here in a moment, because that's one of the things that will continue to kind of bring us eventually some better moisture that eventually yield a couple of thunderstorms. But mid-70s, we typically for record high with 79 degrees, and we should be about 59. So more than 10 degrees above normal, and in some cases not that far removed from a record high temperature. So going into your Wednesday evening, we'll keep those winds out of the south, fairly breezy and bringing up a little bit more moisture. Some showers up here into Tennessee and locations to the north. In fact, that's kind of one of the spots that we're going to have to watch for some stronger storm chances, I think, out of this storm system. What do we have in play here? Again, that system we were looking at back toward the west coast. By that point, you know, you could make an argument this is an occluded front as the cold air kind of catches up here for at least part of this. In either way, this is a pretty stout storm system up here, big kind of upper level and mid-level and really all the way stacked storm system that direction. And in this little crevice between there is where there's a chance for some stronger thunderstorms potentially. Now, our futurecast here, in particular, our strike model, is not particularly impressed by what we're looking at on there, but it does have kind of a zone as we go into even kind of Thursday morning there, perhaps through the day Thursday, where some thunderstorms could get stronger up there closer to Indianapolis, Indiana. I point this out because this is where, again, there's a limited severe weather threat for your Thursday. For us, I think we're still ahead of that. And I just think this storm system does an effective job of trying to bring in some drier air. But notice the wind direction here, right? The wind direction on this is more like this, right? From kind of west to east. As a result, you see it kind of swooping in around there like that. That's not going to be a ton of cold air, at least not initially here. And so this front is going to slow down and kind of even stick around into part of your Friday because of that as well. So that severe risk, as we mentioned, back up here to the north and really north of us, up into Kentucky, far northern Tennessee, far eastern Missouri, and then, of course, generally speaking, in the Ohio Valley. I'm not convinced even they look as impressive as they could, but I think projections will get a little better on this. They typically don't do a great job here this time of year in February for locations back out there in that part of the country. So as we go into your Thursday, that front, look how slow moving this one is, kind of lingering around into your Thursday night and early Friday morning, and maybe some rumbles along that front, but not expecting a ton of activity there, even into Friday. We're 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning with some rumbles mainly down to the south of us at that point in time. We go all the way to Friday evening, and you'll note, again, not a lot out there of active weather, but we'll see if we can get another little wave of kind of push of moisture, because you can argue that this is still connected to our most recent, the other front that came through as well. It's just kind of wobbling along what we call the polar front. And in either case, behind that, we kind of bring in a little bit more moisture, and that could lead to some additional thunderstorm chances. So we look at that 7-day forecast here. On Wednesday, again, 72. We're 79 for Thursday, 72 for your Friday, and then 64 for Saturday. So we do drop things off behind that next front more significantly into this upcoming weekend. 56 by Sunday, 53 degrees by Monday. So yeah, a lot cooler than we've gotten in the last couple fronts around. By that one, that puts us again below normal. And yeah, we actually return down to closer to the freezing point for some of those low temperatures by then. We'll bring that chat back online here, see what else y'all are talking about this evening. Thank you so much for keeping you informed. Appreciate that. See everyone with Maggie at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Appreciate that. I might as well go ahead and mention Maggie for a second. As you mentioned her, we'll mention her as well. Again, 6:37, 7:30 a.m. Maggie's on, Monday through Friday there. We appreciate y'all so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather and supporting Maggie and all of us here. But yeah, excited for to see her, and again, she was actually, one of the cool things about this morning, she was actually in Tupelo, that might sound odd, but no, that's not something we typically, where she typically is. Usually she is out there in Senatobia and doing that whole thing. So we're excited to have her with that and have her back in-house. I'm going to pop up here to bring it on back. You'll see a little bit behind the scenes here on this, but we had our game of the week again, presented by Langston and Lott. That's coming up again this week. And I wonder if this will just show me. I might have to actually go to my own Facebook page here. Oh, man, to bring it up. Let's see. There's Maggie from earlier today. Let's see if we can bring up our... Well, there we are live. And we'll scroll on down past all the pictures to right there. I'm curious to see where we've had some suggestions. See Wheeler on that list there. Should throw in some tennis matches, game of the week. I don't know that we'll do tennis. I do know that we're going to be doing, eventually here, we're going to be working our way into some baseball here. TCHS, Tishmingo County. The girls basketball there have done some great job, great things this year. Walnut, we've got Biggersville. So we do have quite a few folks here in the list. I don't think we're going to be doing soccer. And who knows, we might venture into some other sports here eventually. New Site girls, there's some more Walnut, some more Boonville. So we'll see here, some Biggersville on that list. A lot of opportunities here again. And we're so excited to be able to, decide between a few of these. I know that we kind of end up sometimes in these tournaments this time of year. We will announce, as far as that goes, where we'll be for our game of the week coming up tomorrow. We'll have that kind of narrowed down to a list, and we'll post and let y'all start voting toward that. So we're excited for where that ends up leading us. I'll bring that chat back online here for a moment. Should do ice hockey. Gabriel, you show me some ice hockey folks around here. I might show some ice hockey highlights if you're willing to send in some pictures and video. That would be awesome as well. Appreciate y'all there. Talisha there in Calhoun County for watching us here. as well. So we'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Our meteorologist Maggie McCauley there again with our next live broadcast. Support those folks here at Smortus here on Mississippi Live Weather, like IMPC and all those other people that you see kind of rotating in on there. Without you supporting them, we unfortunately wouldn't be able to keep doing what we are doing here. Our next live broadcast, again, tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Maggie will be on at 7:30 a.m. as well here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Thank you so much for supporting us on Mississippi Live, and we'll see you tomorrow.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.